Hello and welcome to Introduction to Law. My name is Scott Beattie. I am the unit coordinator for this particular unit. At university we call subjects units, some jargon that you'll just have to get used to. And I am also the head of course for criminology. So I work both in the law school and in the criminology area as well. The purpose of this video is to give you a quick rundown of the unit, to talk about our expectations, our approach to learning, and also to have a quick discussion of the assessment. So let's get started. What is this unit all about? The title is pretty clear, Introduction to Law, but it's a skills-focused unit, so it's designed for people those who are going to work in and around the justice system. So it's not just for lawyers, it's also for justice professionals and people who have to work with the law. So this is a unit that is offered both in the law and the criminology courses as a core foundation unit, and you will find that you will have there are students from both in your classes. There are two sessions that are run each week on Zoom, one during the day, which I run, and one in the evening that Wayne Jones will run. Now, mostly that breaks down to the criminology students go to the daytime session, the law students go to the nighttime session, but generally you can just go to whichever suits you the best. So it's really a matter of fitting in with your timetable. Much of the discussion we have in this course talks about lawyers and the legal profession, but that doesn't mean that we are focused solely on lawyers, because people who work around the lawyers who work in justice have to deal with lawyers. They have to see how lawyers understand the world. They have to understand legal culture and the legal profession. So we don't focus a substantial amount of time on the other justice professionals, and certainly if you're studying criminology you'll be doing that in your other units, but suffice to say it's not a unit that's just for lawyers, which is why it's in both programs. One of the foundation ideas in this unit is the idea of legal literacies, that like learning a language, learning to work within a particular discipline requires more than just a set of knowledges. It's a whole set of skills, a whole set of ways of understanding. And we'll talk about in the first module what legal literacies involve, but just as a quick preview, it involves foundation knowledge. So it's like, what is the law, how it works, legal problem solving, how does law go about not only solving problems, but how does it define problems? How does it define a problem as relevant? It involves all the socio-legal issues that sit around the legal system and how it works and when it doesn't and why it doesn't work. And it also involves a series of work skills that are preparing you for professional life, working with others, being able to write in a professional way, being able to present your ideas and so forth. So legal literacies are this core set of different concepts that all work together that provide you a pathway into further study and into work. Now, our approach to learning in this unit is based on active learning, which is simply speaking learning by doing. So as I said before, it's a very practical unit, and it is one that's going to require you to be involved and be engaged and being proactive. There are workshops every week. As I mentioned, there are two sets you can choose from, and each of those workshops focus on a set of challenges for you to complete. And you'll be working on those in small groups via Zoom. So the Zoom sessions will have parts of it that will be the whole group, and parts of those will be the aspects that will be recorded. But there'll also be a lot of small group work that you're working with groups of 4 to 6 in these projects, and those won't of course be recorded because of privacy issues and everything else. But that small group work is followed by sharing with the whole large group and debriefing. So you're not working in isolation with these groups, and certainly we have the ability for the moderators to be able to move between those groups, answer questions, help out and so forth. So it's not one of these sort of boring sit down and listen to a lecture for 2 hours a week. It's certainly a very active subject. And these challenges, which are provided for each week, build your skills and knowledges step by step, and they certainly build towards the major assessment task. This leads to another of our major principles of our approach to this unit, which is the idea of the flipped classroom. And basically, it's a reversal of the old idea that you spend your face-to-face time listening to someone talk, and then you go away and you do your homework based on that. And our face-to-face time is so precious, most of us are very time poor, that it really is a waste of everyone's time for you to spend that time we have together listening to me talk. So the idea is that the preparation work, that lecture-y part of things, is broken up through the preparatory materials. We broke it up into bite-sized little mini lectures with all the supporting materials and activities to get you prepared before the workshop each week. Then we spend the workshop actually actively doing things. So it's important that you prepare for the workshops, and it's important that you are ready to go before the workshop session each week. This week, this semester, it's on a Wednesday. Both of those sessions are on a Wednesday, so you'll have the rest of the week and the start of the next week to prepare for the following workshop and challenge. And just to totally clarify this, we do not go through the material and reading material again in the workshop, because that would be a waste of everyone's time. But I know in the past you may have had people tell you must prepare, and then they just tell you what's in the reading materials anyway. That's very tedious, and it means that there's no point in doing those readings or doing your preparation. We don't do that. We expect that you've got that preparation done ahead of time. Okay, talk about the assessment a little bit here to close off. At this point, it's probably good to make sure that you've got a copy of your unit profile and you've read the assessment section in that. So if you haven't done that, pause, go and find that and read it. The unit profile's got a lot of UD trivia alignment stuff in it that you can safely skim over, but the assessment section is the important stuff that you're going to need to really focus on, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So there are 3 parts to the assessment. There's a quiz or a series of quizzes. There is a workbook, which is a write-up of what you've done in the challenges, and there's a major assignment, which is a problem-solving exercise. And I'll talk briefly about those one at a time. So the quizzes, they're probably the simplest to deal with. There's 10 quizzes for the first 10 modules, each worth 2%. There's 4 questions in each, so they're worth half a mark each. These are drawn from a random bank, so you'll get different questions to everyone else. The deadline for these quizzes is the end of the term, and I've done that to give you the most flexibility to how you approach your study, rather than have them shut off every week and then you have no flexibility. But the caveat that comes with that is that you need to be responsible in how you do these, and don't leave them till the last minute before they're due to try and answer them, because you're not going to do very well and it's going to be very stressful to do that. So with that in mind, with the fact that you need to be very proactive and responsible in how you plan your time, I've decided to make the time frame in which you answer those quizzes as wide as possible. Quizzes don't appear automatically in Moodle. You've got to finish your preparatory tasks before the quizzes will appear, and there's each week I think there is one final exercise that you need to complete that will unlock the quizzes for that week. So if you look there and the quizzes aren't there, don't panic. You need to make sure you've finished your preparatory work in those lessons for that week before the quiz becomes available, because we need to know that you're ready to go before you start doing the quizzes. So that's the quizzes, 20%. The next part is the workbook, which is 40%. The workbook involves a write-up of the challenges that you do each week. And these are the challenges for the first 10 modules, and they're worth 4% each. So 4% times 10 is 40, I hope. And generally, there's no firm guidelines on how long these write-ups should be, but they should only be about half a page. They're very informal, so they're not really the same as writing up an assignment each week. And it's sharing what results came out of your challenge exercise and what you learned from it. And there's guidance each week. There's reflective seeds to get you thinking about some of the issues so you can write up your short report each week. These are due in 2 batches. The first set are due in week 5, just to make sure that you're keeping up to date and you get some early feedback on your progress, and the rest will work due at the end of term. There are 2 tasks for each challenge. There's a compulsory task that's you complete in class, in Zoom, and so on. And there is an extended task that's an optional one. Now, each of these are worth 2 marks out of the 4. So if you can pass just by doing the core basic tasks. And the 2 marks are given for completion. So we don't judge in depth whether we think it's worth a mark here or there. If you've satisfactorily completed the task, you get the 2 marks for it. The mark might be deleted if you hand in something that's not so good, and you need to do more. But it's a really basic threshold. If it's completed, you get the 2 marks. If you complete the optional extended task, you get another 2 marks. So as I said, if you want to pass this unit, just make sure you do all the core task write-ups. Now then there's the question, what if you can't make it to a workshop? What do you do? Create a study group. So we have the ability to communicate with each other through MS Teams, and you may want to create a study group anyway. You may have watched Community and decided that's the life for you. But honestly, study groups are actually a good idea, and that will give you more flexibility to schedule your time as well. You only need 4 people, 6 if you want to be safe and make sure that you can keep going when a couple of people can't show up for a particular session. But you can do all the workbooks, the challenges, and complete the workbooks with your own group as well. And remember that the recordings for each week are not going to include the small group work. They include the discussions with the whole class, but they don't include that small group work. So you can't, spy on someone else completing their exercise and write up what they do, for instance. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. All right, so that's the workbook. It's one of the big significant parts of work in this unit. Criminology students will know that this is a very common approach, because all the criminology units use this workbook style approach to give you that guidance and scaffolding throughout the term, so you know all about what's expected to do, particularly for people who haven't done this form of study before, to give you a bit of a helping hand along the way. All right, the final assessment task is the legal problem solving exercise. It's 40%. It's 1,500 words, so you need to be very concise with what you do. 1,500 words may sound a lot right now as you start your university studies, but you soon, the first 100 words takes a long time to get to them, and then you suddenly find you're at 2,000 words. So don't be daunted by the word length. The legal problem solving assignment is based on a practical scenario, and it pulls together all those skills that you have learnt in the modules so far, particularly what you do in those challenges. It's due in week 9, and you'll be given the scenario 2 weeks ahead of time, and it will ask you to apply all those skills. And rather than just telling us what the result is, the focus here is on demonstrating your working and showing how you arrived at a conclusion. A bit like a maths problem, you don't really get the marks for getting the final answer to a maths problem. What you get your marks for is that showing your working and showing how you got there. And that's the same here. We want you to be able to show what you've learned and that you understand the process of getting to that point. So that's the quick overview. Quick, it's probably got on 10 minutes by now. But that's the overview of the unit. If you have any questions, please post them in Teams, and take advantage of Teams to start to get to know your colleagues. I think there are about 200 students in the unit this term, which is absolutely massive. But if you can find a core group of people that you can that you get along with and keep in contact with them, that's very important as well. So I'll finish that up now. I hope you find this unit challenging, engaging, and interesting. I certainly haven't designed it to be boring. I've created it with Luke and Nicola, 2 colleagues, because this runs 3 times a year. We have a lot of people involved in running it, but we've had a team that have produced these materials, and we've tried to make stuff that's fun to study. And I know study is not always fun, but our aim is to find the most interesting material, the most interesting tasks, and to give you practical skills in that. I will see you all soon.